Okay.
Okay, good morning, Robert.
Good morning, Alicia.
Thank you for joining us today. As I know, it is just 6 a.m. in the USA now.
Yes, and it's still dark and it is raining.
Okay, so thank you for joining us in this morning. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Don't you think that it is one of the best way to start your morning?
Oh, the best way to start your morning is talking with friends and meditating, exercising, studying, get a good start on the day and tell the day what's going to happen.
So, at first, let me introduce you. Robert Locard is a cybersecurity specialist, database designer, a project manager. Also, the winner of the 2015 Oracle Developers' Choice Award for Database Design. The author of the book Oracle Database Application Security that was published last year, and I even has this book printed edition. And for over than 40 years, Robert has specialized in financial intelligence, track attacks on information system, along with designing secure database systems. And a few words about the program of today's telebridge. The program of our telebridge today consists of 1-hour lecture and Q&A, question and answer sessions. So please ask your questions in the comments below, and don't forget to add your name in the text of your question. Then we will be able to mention the name of the author. И я повторю для наших участников, которые хотели бы только комментировать или участвовать, или посмотрят в записи, что мы просим вас задавать вопросы в комментариях к трансляции, в тексте вопросов в скобках указывать ваше имя, чтобы мы могли называть авторов. Программа телемоста – это часовая лекция с 13, вот сейчас уже 13:05 на часах, с 13 до 14:05. И дальше сессия ответов на вопросы. Вопросы можно писать в комментариях на русском или на английском языках. Наши модераторы переведут эти вопросы, и мы зададим их Роберту по окончании лекции. Okay, so Robert, let's do it. Let's start.
Good morning, everybody. I hope everyone's having a great day. I've been in this business for over 40 years now, and I've met quite a few people. Some are very successful. Some seem to be stuck in time. And when we look at people, we see the movers and shakers. They seem to all have something in common. They have a vision. They are always seem to be moving forward. And also, they always seem to be succeeding. So they have also succeeded by their own definition of success. Think Larry Ellison, Bill Gates, Elon Musk. I'll talk about Elon Musk. He seems to be a very interesting character. Then you have some other people, and they always seem to be flipping from one task to another. They don't seem to be going anywhere. They may be looking for the next win, the next promotion, the next car, the next smartphone. Truth is, they're probably never going to be happy until they have the next. And then we have the other type of people we run into. These people actually make me a little bit sad. They learn a technology, they seem to be stuck there. When something new comes along, they'll shoot it down. When something difficult comes up, they'll say it's impossible. There's nothing new to them. There's nothing exciting. You probably know people like this in your life. They seem to be stuck. Today is the same as yesterday. Tomorrow will be the same as today. And they also, I wonder, how did they get this way? It's really one of the problems that I think about quite a lot. Now, I have been fortunate enough to be surrounded by some of the most extraordinary people in the world. And I have some friends that I want to mention. One of them is Martin Whitlake. Martin one time told me, if you ever find yourself the smartest person in the room, find another room. There's another gentleman I know by the name of Kerry Millsap. He has incredible presentation skills, and he always remembers something special about you. A friend named Camille, he's not afraid to go figure something out. Sandesh Rowe, he is committed to learning his entire life. Roger McNichol, really, he is typically the smartest person in the room, and I go to him frequently when I want advice. So some years ago, I was kind of stuck where I was. Basically, I'd finished a large project, and then I got comfortable. And I sat around eating pizza, drinking beer, watching football with my friends, and I put on about 45 kilos. And it really was not a great life. And that was about 15 years or so ago. And something happened. I changed my friends. I changed what I did. I started learning. Now, these ideas that I'm going to be sharing with you, they are not my ideas. They are ideas from the people I have met in life. They have either out and route taught me these things, or I learned them by observing and adapting them to my life. So please take these ideas, adapt them so they fit you, make them your ideas, and I really hope that you teach others as you get better at this. So some of the things we want to think about on this is, one, know the game that you're playing. And when I talk about the game you're playing, in game theory, a game has two or more people to optimize an outcome. So solitaire is not a game in game theory. Chess, however, is a game in game theory because you have multiple interactions. And there are also two types of games. There's the repeating game, also referred to as the infinite game. You have known and unknown rules. The rules can change. There are known and unknown players. The players can change. The object of this game is to stay in the game until either you have run out of resources or you just want to drop out. The best players in the infinite game, they are strategic players, and they have the ability to constantly have a vision. They're constantly looking forward. They're constantly moving forward. Again, think of the Elon Musk of the world. Think of the Bill Gates, the Larry Ellisons. When we look at them, why is it they're constantly moving forward? Well, they have a vision. And one of the things is the vision they have is also in line with their values. They don't compare themselves to others. They compare themselves to who they were yesterday. The people around them are also infinite players, so that they're constantly surrounding themselves with people they want to be like. And another thing that I found out as I've watched these people and applied it to my life, they are not accountable to other people. They are accountable to themselves. Meaning, if they do not perform at the level that they feel they are necessary, they take the corrective action on themselves. And they also will have friends around them that will remind them. I have a core group of friends. It's a very small group, and they will frequently tell me, Robert, you didn't bring it all to the table. Robert, you could have done better here. And this is an impact on ego. So we will be talking about ego here in a little bit. Then you have the finite game. The finite game, there are known rules, known players, and there is a well-defined outcome. Chess and football are good examples of finite games. All right. The players in the finite game tend to be tactical thinkers. Their brain is not on the long term. Their brain is on how am I going to win this game? Now, the interesting thing about these type of people, these tactical players, if their energy is directed, you can't get a lot done because they're always looking for that next win. However, if their energy is not directed, they tend to be a ship without a rudder. They become stuck. They don't advance their skills. They're flipping from one thing to another constantly. When infinite players are playing the game together, we have a stable game. And by a stable game is everybody is playing the same game. When finite players are playing together, the game is stable. You play football. At the end of football, someone wins, someone loses. However, when finite and infinite players compete, this game is unstable. The infinite player is always going to frustrate the finite player because the finite player is looking for a win. But by what metric is the finite player winning? They can't win because the metrics are different. The infinite player is looking to stay in the game and get ahead. The finite player wants a well-defined win. I have more money, my car is nicer, et cetera, et cetera. Hey, the infinite player knows some days you're ahead, some days you're behind. They're constantly comparing themselves to how they were yesterday. So now, tomorrow, I'll be better than today. And I am constantly looking at, analyzing my strengths, my weaknesses, and I keep building on my strengths and I keep identifying my weaknesses so I can just kind of level up a bit. So realize this right now. You are in an infinite game. You get to define what your vision is, what your dreams are. Now, there's a couple of rules for this. The vision, it must be in line with your values. And you know what your values are. That values is that little voice in your head that says what is right, what is wrong. Now, I'll advise you on this right now. Do not ignore your values, because if you do, that little voice in your head is slowly going to get quieter, but it's never going to quite completely go away. It will stay around and it will haunt you, and you will perhaps start regretting your decisions. Now, I cannot give you your vision. I cannot give you your values. That would be completely arrogant of me. We've had different lives. We've had different experiences. So what applies to me may not necessarily apply to you. Another thing you need to realize when you start building your vision, it is going to continue to change throughout the years. And this is for several reasons. One, you're going to learn new things. You're going to have new experiences. So the vision I had when I was 20 is nothing like the vision that I have now. It's slowly changed over years, adapting to new knowledge, new experiences. When I was 20 back in 1980, we expected everyone to have flying cars by 2020. Computers were going to be as smart as people. So expect your vision to change because these things didn't happen. We had to adapt our visions. Now, I'm also always trying to think 20 years into the future, trying to figure out what the world is going to be like. I look at current technologies and I see how far they can be pushed. What are new use cases for technologies? And I also spend a lot of time thinking about what is the impact of technology on society. Facebook started to bring people together and for the most part it succeeded. However, there's been second and third order consequences from the use of social media such as Facebook. It's caused polarization in society. And I personally believe this is because human interaction, talking to a friend face to face, has been replaced with a quick post giving an opinion. So when you create your vision, first, it must fit your values. Second, you cannot break the law of physics. All right. And this is something you have to think about for a little bit. Professor Neil deGrasse Tyson once said, after the laws of physics, everything else is just opinion. And I kind of like that because what it's telling you is the possibilities of what can be are far beyond what you think they can be. So we have these rules in our head, say, can't do this, can't do that. This is difficult. This is impossible. One, I want you to get the word impossible out of your vocabulary entirely, unless you're looking at breaking the laws of physics. Now, you also need to think about in your vision second and third order consequences for technologies. Now, another good example of how do I want to put this? Consequences for a vision. Think of autonomous vehicles. In the United States, laws have been passed to allow autonomous vehicles on some public roads. As of right now, you need to have a driver behind the wheel monitoring the system, ready to take over if anything goes wrong. But let's also take this to its logical conclusion. Autonomous trucks are coming, like it or not. Drivers will be put out of work. What is the impact on society? How will society help those drivers to adapt and keep being productive members of society? These are things that, we have to think about. What about commercial aircraft? In the United States, the NTSB and the Federal Aviation Administration, whose motto is, we're not happy until you're not happy. I'm a pilot, so I can say that. They're famous for saying a crash was because of pilot error. And normally a crash is because of pilot error. But let's think about it logically. When an autonomous truck or plane crashes, who is responsible? Again, we have to think about these things as we create our vision. So when you create your vision of the future, it's really not all that simple. How are you going to interact with the technology? How will your friends and family interact with technology? Will the technology help most people and hurt a few, or it will help a few and hurt most? Again, you're thinking second and third order consequences of what a technology will do. Now, to achieve this vision, this is something that I do regularly, I deconstruct it, I reverse engineer it. I'll get together with a bunch of friends every now and then. We try to come up with what things will look like in 20 years. These are some pretty sharp people. They're on top of their game. And a couple things, that come up every now and then. Quantum computing. Well, right now, quantum computing is still just a very expensive experiment. One of the things we're trying to figure out is quantum computing the right tool for AI? I don't know. We don't know. Here's another thing. How is transportation going to change in 20 years? We have autonomous vehicles coming, so that's going to be it. But there's also long distance transportation. There is supply chain we can think about. And I'm going to take some tricks from Elon Musk, and I'm going to push something to its probably not so logical conclusion. Can we take hypersonic technology and apply it to transportation industry? Can the cost be brought down to make it feasible? How difficult would it be to add a landing system to a hypersonic vehicle? Hey, Elon Musk is landing booster rockets, so it could be feasible. Is there an appropriate vehicle? Is it hypersonic technology an appropriate vehicle for people, or would you use it in the supply chain? I personally don't want to be riding in a hypersonic vehicle. So look at the current technologies. How far can you push them? Reimagine uses for technologies. Now, Elon Musk, I come back to him quite a bit. He's a master of this. If you want to learn about repurposing technology, study Elon Musk. One of the things I realized about him is he first learns as much about a technology as he can. Then he figures out what's not there, and he surrounds himself with experts. He goes where the technology has not gone. He created luxury electric vehicles, which 20, 30 years ago, we did not think was practical. He put landing gear on booster rockets, and he is reusing booster rockets. He created the Boring Company to move transportation underground, and he learns what that technology can do. He pushes it a bit further, and then he modifies it to solve a problem. Now, I've been frequently known as a problem child. When people ask me why, my general response is, why not? And unless someone can give me a good, logical explanation for why not, and it better be really good explanation, I will continue going down my path. Another reason I've been known as a problem child is because I frequently break the rules. Now, before you start emulating me and breaking rules, you should be very careful with this. I frequently look at the rules as a safe way to do something, and there was likely a very good reason the rule was created in the first place. However, sometimes rules may not apply anymore. I tell the story of my mom making a ham. She would cut off the bottom 2 inches of the ham and put the ham in the pan to cook, then take the bottom 2 inches and make a soup. And we'd ask Mom why she did this, and she said, that's the way my mother always made a ham. And one day we finally sat down with my grandmother, and like, Grandma, why did you cut that bottom 2 inches off the ham to cook it? And her response was pretty simple. My pan was too small for the whole ham, so I cut off the bottom part. Well, my mom's pan was plenty big for the whole ham, so that rule did not apply anymore. See, rules do have good reasons. However, sometimes they change. My mother also had a couple of good rules, and I like talking about some of my mom's rules, or I think about them a lot. When we were children, when the street lights came on, you were back in the house. We lived in North Carolina at the time, by the swamps, and she would say, stay out of the swamps, don't get eaten by alligators. Stay away from snakes. These were all good rules. We broke most of them. I actually grew up running barefoot through the swamps for a good portion of my life, and I kind of enjoy it there. So think about what is the purpose of a rule. Then look at what you need to accomplish and find the best route there. Now, frequently for me, that involves breaking a few rules or at least bending them. But again, I want to caution you, be very careful. Do it gently and safely. Now, one of the ways I look at things is I try to come up with 3 uses for things that are not common. Neuroscientists call this fluid intelligence. I've also heard it referred to as, it'll come to me. I'll get back to that. And so, simple exercise. What can you do with a brick? You can build a house. You can block a door open. Well, how about if I took that brick and a stone and I grinded it into water, made a paste, and then I could paint with it. So look at the things around you. What can you do with them that is not common? This is one of the things that Elon Musk is really quite accomplished at. So, constant analysis. Now, one of the things that I learned, and I can't remember who I picked this up every day, every morning I start a list of what went right and what went wrong, and I keep filling it out through the day. At the end of the day, I figure out what went wrong that day and make adjustments and try to figure out the root cause of what went wrong. Sometimes it is a mistake I made. Sometimes it's an external force. And I have to identify that. If it is something that I can do so that mistake does not happen again, I make those adjustments. I adapt. Now, if it's completely out of your control, you may have to adapt to it by finding another way. Other things may be so minor, it's not even worth paying attention to. And when I identify things that go right, and I'm really, really generous with myself on this, because at the end of the day, I'm going to tell you, some days the world is just going to punch you in the face. And so when things go right, no matter how small, how minor, my socks matched, my bed is made, I at least have some things at the end of the day that I know went right. Another thing that I have learned is read different books. Challenge yourself. I spend a lot of time reading on economic systems, how they interact with each other, brain science. One of my favorite books right now is 1001 Arabian Nights, because it gives you the art of storytelling. That is probably one of the best books I have ever seen to study the art and science of storytelling, 1001 Arabian Nights. And you're going to need to understand the art and science of storytelling for a lot of reasons, and we're going to get into that a little bit. But every day I study for a minimum of 1 hour. I could be reading economics, I can be reading brain science, I can be reading technical papers, I can be searching on almost any of 1,000 subjects. And if you go to my website, you will see a tab on there for reading list. And I started putting up on my reading list, I started putting up on my reading list the books I was reading. Now, I'm not giving you what I think of the books, because I want you to come to your own conclusions on the books. Now, after you have read the book, we can sit down and we can have a discussion what we think about the books, but I'm not going to tell you what it is. So if you go there, you'll see a wide range of books that I've am currently reading or have read, including the letters of Vincent van Gogh. So 1 hour a day, study. Be careful of the information you put into your head. All right. I grew up and we were hearing, you are what you eat. Well, you are also what you think. So if you're putting garbage in your head, guess what? It's going to be garbage. Okay. I know people who sit there and they flip for hours on Instagram. And they're going, oh, what if? Oh, what if? Oh, this is so much nicer. Oh, I would love to have that. And flip and flip and flip. And they are living their lives wishing for what they don't have. Or they're living their lives going, I have this and you don't. You need to be absolutely careful about what you read, what you put in your head. If it is not, to me, good solid literature, or basically avoid junk food information. That's probably the best way I can put it. But 1 hour a day, that's not difficult. I do it first thing in the morning. Now, here's another thing here. There is a lot that I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. Now, people's egos are huge. We want to be right. We want to project to the world that we know everything. Reality is we don't know as much as we think we do. And one of the things that I do is I'm frequently writing out on a notebook. I've got a notebook around here somewhere. What I don't know. As I'm reading, I'll say, oh, I don't know this. So I write it down. I'm trying to figure out, do I want to continue learning this? My friend Roger McNichol, we were sitting around in Sopot, Poland, and we were chatting about success. And he said to me, the moment your curiosity ends is the moment that your career ends. Continue being curious, continue asking why, continue trying to figure things out. When we were children, I remember with me, I was asking my mom, why? And I think my mom just got tired of it and said, nope, just stop asking why. I was out front a couple weeks ago. It had been raining and there was a mud puddle. And one of my neighbor's children, she's about, I'm really not great with ages of children, she's less than a meter tall. And she's got her galoshes on and there's this mud puddle. And she's just eyeballing this mud puddle. She wants to jump in it. And I wanted to jump in it too. So I jumped in the mud puddle. He started laughing and she jumped in the mud puddle. Her mom kind of rolled her eyes at me. Something about her daughter's socks getting wet. I don't know. But anyways, by allowing her to be curious of jumping in that mud puddle, what did she learn? Think about it. Your feet hit the water, hit the mud, you create a crater. All right. So you have to be constantly asking questions. Sometimes you're just absolutely silly, and they're fun. Now, the other important thing is you're going to have to need to keep reminding yourself, why are you getting up in the morning? Why do you want to pursue this technology? What will it do for society? And you have to feel it. And then when you're getting up in the morning, and I have a kind of a crazy schedule. I tend to get up at 3 a.m., spend an hour meditating, spend an hour exercising. and spend an hour studying before I start work. But that period of time, and I don't encourage you to do what I do unless you really want to. That period of time, what I'm doing is I am telling the world what is going to happen. I am setting the rules for how I am going to engage with the world. Because what's going to happen if you don't, the world's going to be more than happy to tell you what's going to happen to you. So spend time figuring out why you're getting up in the morning. Figure out what you're going to do that day. I always take 3 things that I'm going to do to move my vision forward. All right. And really, we only do things for 4 basic reasons, and we could have long discussions on this. The 4 basic reasons are fear, for a selfish reason, for duty, or for love. Those are the 4 basic reasons you do things. So you want to think that through. And we can have long discussions later on these reasons. Now, you are going to fail at what you do, and you're going to fail often. Understand something. Failure is just testing. Wrap your head around that. Failure is just testing an idea or an action. Please understand that. I have seen so many people, they failed, they fell down, and they go, okay, I'm done, and walk away. No, what you need to do is step back, understand why that action failed. You are still moving forward. I'm going to go back to Elon Musk here for a second. When he first started building rocket engines, they were blowing up all the time. He was running out of money. And he kept adapting, he kept changing, he kept looking at these failures and then improving the design. Once he got that, he said, hey, I'm going to add landing gear to these booster rockets because they're really expensive and it would be great if we could use them again. The first several times he attempted to land a rocket to reuse it, the rocket blew up. Again, he looked at the failure, he identified the failure, and he adapted. So failure is nothing more than testing. Please understand that. So failure basically comes down to 2 things: what you don't know and your ego. Now, if you ask anybody who tells me, they'll tell you I have an ego the size of Jupiter. And I really do. Yet I know there's a lot that I don't know. I'm constantly coming across things I don't know. And again, when this happens, I write it down. I score it for future reference. You know, does what I don't know, does it apply to my career? Does it apply to social? Am I just curious about things? But we are hardwired to want to be right. We need to be right. And I'm going to prove it to you. If you are ever in a relationship for any period of time, you will get into an argument and you will go back and forth and back and forth. And soon the argument's over. You go to bed, you think it's going to be a good night, and somebody reaches over, flips the light on, goes, well, I was right. Trust me, it's gonna happen. Happens to everybody. So you want to be right. Well, accept that you might be wrong. All right. Your ego and what you don't know will be the 2 root causes of failure. I keep people around me who are smarter than me, and they tend to advise me when I'm about to fail. Now, I also keep a book of brilliant ideas. Some of them, not so brilliant. When you expose them to reality, you go, oh, well, that was an idea that just, throw it away. There may be little pieces in it, but I write it down. I let it sit for about a week. Then I go back and I look at it again. And if I still like it, I'll chat with some of my friends about the idea. And what I fully expect 80% of the ideas that I bring in front of my friends, that they're going to knock it down. They're going to find holes in it. I cannot push an idea forward if they are full of flaws. If I am wrong, I want to know I'm wrong. Hey, and my friends, they're a lot smarter than me, and that's okay. Just because it's my idea does not make it right. It does not make it good. But I also found there may be elements in my idea that would be good in other use cases. I never let my ego get in the way of that. So check your ego, accept you may be wrong. And that's it. If my idea was good, then my idea is good. I'll never know if my idea is good if I don't test them, if I don't try them, if I don't discuss them. Now, realizing you may be wrong, you can minimize it. How do I want to put this? By keeping the right people around you, you can minimize the failure that you're going to experience. They can advise you. I am very cautious about who I put around me, who I allow to test my ideas, who I allow to advise me. I could have the friends I had 15, 20 years ago, and they'll be like, hey, let's sit on the couch, drink beer, eat pizza, watch football. We're good. Well, we're not good. If I give them an idea, they're like, oh, that'll never work. And they never discuss it. So these people can warn you of the traps that you may not be aware of. Now, I have a lot of friends who are not in my industry, and they're constantly letting me know that there is a trap ahead. There's an old saying, you are born with a bucket full of luck and an empty bucket of experience. And when you die, your bucket of luck will be empty and your bucket of experience will be full. View failure as filling up that bucket of experience and taken out of your bucket of luck. But use friends so you don't have to use too much of that bucket of luck, because trust me, if you don't want it running empty. Another thing that I've learned from a lot of my friends is being present, being focused. Remove the distractions. Before I started this talk, the first thing I did was I put my tablet and my phone in airplane mode. I could get a phone call, somebody send me a message on Facebook, whatever. So when you are doing something, you need to focus on that. I talk to a lot of people, and I've learned this with myself and I've learned this with other people, is you get stuck in what happened in the past and you're worried about what happened in the future. Okay? You want to look at things in a fashion of, where am I going? What is the technology I'm working on? How can I utilize this and moving forward? All right. Another thing is, if you multitask, I guarantee you are going to do a lot of things very badly. Focus on one thing, because when you multitask, your brain needs to do a context switch. That takes time. That takes energy. Pick one thing, do it. When you're finished with that, take a break, switch to the next thing. Now, one of the things that I do is I batch my emails. Because when I'm thinking of a problem, I'm writing, my brain is just constantly full and working out a problem. There's a lot of subtleties going on. And then I'll get an email going, hey, it's Jane's birthday. There's cake in the conference room. Come on out. Hey, I like cake. Guess what? Any thoughts that I had, anything I was working on has now been replaced by cake. And it's probably going to take me a few hours to get back to where I was. So when I'm working, my phone is off. My email is turned off. Instant message is probably the worst thing for productivity in the world. I hate it. I need to focus on one thing, finish that. And, I'll tell people, I am checking email from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and again, 1 to 2, and again at the end of the day, 4 to 5. If there is an emergency, if we are about to collide with another planet, I jokingly say, get up from your desk, walk over and tell me. Well, now in days of COVID, typically my cell phone is turned on and they will call me. But somebody has to actually take the effort to get in front of me. All right. But there's also, what I figured out is people have a fear of missing out. They get distracted what could happen, what they want to happen. Guess what? You're never going to move forward if you don't start. So I check emails in batches. I turn off notifications on my phone. And I see this a lot. And this is one of those little nuances that drive me kind of crazy. You'll see a couple people at dinner and both of them are on the phones like this. And they're not talking with each other. So what that's telling that other person is you're not as important as whatever's on the phone. Okay. And to me, it's really quite irritating. I got off on a bit of a tangent there. It's just one of those annoyances. Another thing you do is do something a little difficult every day. Make it something important. Again, I go back to I start my day. I have 3 things that I want to accomplish today that will move me forward. And to do this, every morning I'll sit down and I will write out those 3 most important things. However, what I will do is I will start out by writing 25 things. And I pick the best 3. The next day, I might add back to the list, putting 3 in, maybe more, maybe less, maybe scratching a few things out. Those actions that I am taking, they're always a little difficult. All right. Now, here's something you may realize, you may not realize. If the things you are doing, okay, you have your skill level, all right, and you have the level of what you're trying to accomplish. And if your skill level is above what you're trying to accomplish, you're going to become bored. You're not challenging yourself. The other side of that problem is if your skill level is right here and what you're trying to accomplish is way up here, all right, you're going to get a lot of anxiety. Both of those are really annoying. So there's a Goldilocks zone, all right? Just a little more difficult. And I like to say, try to be at 104% of what I was yesterday, all right? This will keep you moving forward. It'll keep you from getting bored. Life is life. You will occasionally get bored, but it's also going to help prevent too much anxiety. All right. Now, also, 99% of the stuff you worry about will never happen. Our brains are hardwired to find danger. And my brain's hardwired to find danger. I find it all the time. But I'm 60 years old, and I look back, and 99% of the stuff that I worried about, it never happened. All right. Now, another thing that these people have taught me is you are your brand. Your reputation is everything. And with the internet, you know something, you can reach the entire world. Be careful with your reputation. If you get a reputation for not coming through, it can go far and wide. Now, another thing is, one of the things I finally figured it out, if you want to learn something new, teach it. All right? That's the easiest way for me to learn something. And as you get older, you will find learning new information does actually become more difficult. A professor named Daniel Hillerman at Stanford, if you ever look him up on YouTube, he's a fascinating individual. Talks about to learn, you need to, especially for older people, there has to be a stressful situation that's very difficult to learn. You have to really want to learn, but after you learn it, rest, sleep, get a good night's sleep. So if I have to be able to explain something to a group of people, one of my tricks is I try to explain it to my 80-year-old mother. So, well, she's over 80, so she can understand it. So I can take some of the most complicated subjects, and I need to be able to put it in the simple terms that my mother can understand. All right. So if you want to learn something that you're struggling with, commit to teaching it to a group. And then go back to, and this is where I continually go back to what I don't know. When I try to explain it to my mother, if I can't use those simple terms, I write it down. Well, I have a book somewhere around here. I write it down in a book that says, I don't know this. I need to go back and learn it better. All right. So commit to teaching it to a group of people. You're going to learn a lot. I've been giving talks for a real long time. And I'll tell you something, every time I give a talk, something goes wrong. When you teach something, something's going to go wrong. Accept it. There'll be technical problems. There'll be people problems. Sometimes I'll be talking and then your brain just goes blank. And then you stand in and going, duh, what am I going to talk about next? Something's going wrong. Expect it and adapt to it. Yesterday, when I was setting up, I dropped my laptop. So I went and I got a screen for it. This morning, when I came in, I accidentally kicked the cord again and knocked my laptop off and broke the screen. I had to adapt. Things are going to go wrong. I was given a talk one time, and the adapter on my laptop, I was in Europe at the time, the adapter on my laptop wasn't working, so the battery ran out halfway through my presentation. And I drew a blank because I was also leaning on my presentation to give me the information of what I was going to speak about. All right, and we're going to talk about that here in a second too, on communications. So when you're communicating, when you are teaching, when you are trying to get your boss to greenlight an idea, some of you will eventually be talking to senior management. Some of you will become senior management. Don't use buzzwords. If you do, you will lose your audience. I have seen it many times. I talked to, especially when I was younger, I would talk to a senior manager and I'll start going, and we're going to use this hash algorithm and their eyes just kind of roll into the back of their head. They're interested in business, and solving problems. All right. So realize the human language is estimated to be over 600,000 years old. Cave paintings, over 40,000 years old. The written word, over 5,200 years old. PowerPoint's 31 years old. And there's a reason they call it death by PowerPoint. All right. If you are given a presentation, you are the presentation. Your PowerPoint is just supporting information. Now, here's an assignment for you. And if you do it correctly, this assignment will never end. I want you to write out, what will the world be like in 20 years? What problems has technology solved? How did that technology solve the problem? What is the impact of that technology on society? Who will be helped? Who will be harmed? How will you help those people who are harmed adapt and continue being productive members of society? How will you interact with that technology? How will your family and friends interact with that technology? Remember, there's only a few rules here. You can't break the laws of physics, so that gives you a lot of room. You cannot violate your values. And you need to think about second and third order consequences. Then deconstruct your vision, break it down into its component parts. Are you repurposing existing technology? Are you pushing a technology beyond its current capabilities? Is this really something new? What did it grow out of? Why do you want your vision? And you have to remind yourself of that day and day and day, because if you don't, the world's going to tell you what your vision is. Now you have your vision, break it down to 5 years. What do you need to do to make it a reality? What do you need to do in 1 year to bring it to reality? What can you do today to bring it to the reality? And here's the secret sauce. You must execute on your plan to make it reality. Nobody is going to come up to you and hand it to you. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tiring. You're going to want to rest, but in 20 years, you're going to look back and you're going to be amazed how far you come. Oh, and I missed one thing, and I do this every year. I go back and I revisit this vision. I rewrite it from scratch, because you will learn something new. You will gain new experiences. And from this, you're going to be able to make corrections to your vision. So think long term. Don't violate your values. You can't violate the laws of physics, and that gives you a lot of room. Learn how to communicate. Read. Okay. I spend an hour a day reading. So thank you. And if you guys have questions, please bring them up. I think we're at an hour. Oh, no, I went 1 minute over. I'm sorry. Forgive me.
Please turn on the camera. Okay, so Robert, do you remember 2 years ago you gave a talk in Moscow Polytechnic University, in our university?
Yes.
And this time you were working on a book. And
Yes.
after you came back home, you emailed us some drafts.
Yes.
And we ask our students to read the draft and send the comments to you, and then the book was published, and we met in Bulgarian Oracle user group conference. You gave me
I
the
remember
printed
that.
edition. So you send one of your book to our students who made comments, who write comments on your draft to you. And the first question is from her. Today, Daria is our student, and she asks your question.
Okay.
Hi.
Daria, how are you? Good to meet you.
It's good to meet you too in person. I'm so sorry I missed the last conference you held in Moscow Politiech, but now I'm here, although we're only Zooming, but still it's so good to see you. Well,
The world is full of possibilities.
yes, I have lots of questions here, but I think I will ask the most important ones. About the topic of your lecture,
Yes.
I've heard this rule that IT specialists have to change their job every 2 years or so, just to have more experience with other projects or with other technologies. Do you believe it's the right way to learn more, or is it better to learn on your own?
You can make your project your own. You can adapt it to you. I was at one project for 14 years, and it was a constant learning experience. I learn on my own, and as I learned on my own, I found things that would help the project. And then I learned how to communicate that to senior management so they could implement those things in their project. Now, conversely, if you are on a project, and I've seen a few like these, they get stuck in a technology that's 20 years old, and everyone says, can't be done, too hard, too complicated, too hard, too complicated. Find another place to go, because you will not grow. Okay? It depends on the project. I had one, they continued to allow me to learn. I had another, I was like, get me out of here. Because the whole organization was stuck 20 years ago.
And did you join lots of projects throughout your life?
I have had quite a few projects. Some of them are very short term, but I went into them knowing they were short term. I went in to solve a very specific problem. Some of them I started and I thought they were going to be short term. However, I wound up staying there for years. One of the places I went that I thought was going to be short term was Maryland Department of Transportation, where they give driver's licenses and license plates. And after a couple of months there, I was solving the problems. I came up to my desk and there was a new license plate for my truck on the desk. It said Dr. Evil. That is the license plate of my truck, Dr. Evil. I had been able to influence that organization enough that they wanted to keep me for several more years to keep them moving forward. So you have to read the project. You know, short-term projects, sometimes good. Long-term projects, sometimes good. The point is that you keep learning.
Okay, thank you, Robert. Thank you, Daria. We
It's a
have
pleasure.
many questions in the comments, so I'll read these questions and we try to discuss all of them. First question from Roman Svintsitsky. Dear Robert Lockert, how do you think should information in open sources, for example, internet, be filtered by specialists, government, etc., or not?
Can I say that depends? It really depends on the nature of the information. I I am of the opinion that everybody should be able to say whatever they want, and it is up to the world to say, you're wrong. Okay? It is putting ideas out there, some of them controversial, some of them not controversial, but testing them. And I think what the problem happens when somebody gets too much authority and they start saying, well, this does not apply to my beliefs. Again, it gets back to ego. Who is watching the information and who is watching the watchers? So it depends. I can argue both sides of that.
Okay, and one more question from YouTube. Victor asks, Dear Robert Lockhart, what do you think about quantum technology and its development in next 5-10 years? Will it have the same boom as big data technology have in 2016? Thank you.
I don't think quantum technology is going to be here at that level in 5 to 10 years unless somebody really comes up with something brilliant. It is, and all of the experts that I've spoken to believe that this is going to be a slow process. We might not see it in 5 years. We might start seeing some application to it in 10 years. But it'll be some simple things. And when I say simple, simple for quantum computing, maybe not so simple for us. 20 years, we'll see. We'll see. I think in 20 years, quantum computing will have come a long way, but right now it's still just an extraordinarily expensive experiment. So, and I'd like to see, can you integrate quantum computing with artificial intelligence? Is that a good use case for it? So.
And now the question from the Moscow Polytechnic University and the team of IT faculty. A question about privacy. Our mobile devices collect data about our preferences, movements, and other activities. In cities, cameras are everywhere, in the street, in offices, in transport. We are less likely to go unnoticed. How will this affect the development of society? How will society treat people those personal information is leaked online? And how long will society remember such leaks of information about famous people? Will it forgive them or forget it? I can split this question into 3 parts and I can repeat again. So
let's do part 1.
Yes, how will this affect the development of society?
You are going to have, I think society is going to split on this. You're going to have, I'm going to say, the people, attention whores. They are going to put themselves out there. They're going to constantly say, I am doing this, I am doing this, I am doing this, I am doing this. Attention whores. You're going to have the other group of people, and what they are going to do, and just a second, my computer has decided to have something popped up on my screen there. You're going to have another group of people, and this is going to probably be a little bit like me. I am actually a very private person. What I put out on Facebook and the internet, I think about it really closely. However, if I am trying to work out issues, if I'm trying to work, figure out problems, I actually don't use electronics. I use pencil and paper. So you're gonna have a split. So what's going to happen with society? You will continue having the attention whores. I am very cautious of what I put out there. A lot of times, and like on Facebook, I'll put out a joke, something that's like, this is a stressful situation. Here's a joke to pull you away from it. How will it impact society? I am hoping we pull back on our personal information. And you also asked about forgiveness.
Yes, the second part of this question was and how Will society treat people whose personal information is leaked online?
I'm a huge fan of forgiveness. How will you, it depends how society or how elements of society, and the reason why I put it this way, you have some people, they're the voyeurs. They want to see, they want to get that dopamine fix. They want to go, oh, I'm better than them. Okay, because I don't have this problem. Actually, they probably have other problems. All right. Then you will also have another element that's puts that information out there online in order to push that person down. So that's another problem with it. Society as a whole, I think we should just forgive people for their mistakes, because we're all making mistakes. And here's the magic of the forgiveness. Forgiveness is not for the other person. Forgiveness is for you. To forgive somebody is to actually do something for yourself. How will we forgive them? People screw up all the time. People will make mistakes. Information's going to get out there. People like me, what my battle has always been is to protect other people's information. That drives me. So it doesn't get out there in the first place. And so what I do is I teach people how to protect information.
Okay, so next question is from Kirill Arkhipov. Continuing on about Elon Musk, what do you think about new Elon Musk's Neuralink chips? What about safety on using them in humans' brain?
Oh yeah, Neuralink. You're not going to wire me up. No, you're not going to wire me up and be part of the machine. He has a good point. My phone, for example. I am IO bound to talk to my phone. I can only input information and consume information so fast. I understand why, because he wants to speed up the input output. However, somebody putting, and this is just my personal opinion, someone putting something in my brain and hooking it to the internet, it's not going to happen. Nobody wants to know what's going through my brain sometimes. Or if they do, there's another issue. That I see huge problems with it. Society, we were just speaking about personal information leaking online. What if your most private thoughts started leaking online? You don't want that. And I don't want that either.
So you don't want to be controlled?
No.
How strange.
No, you know me well enough.
Okay. Next question. We actually have a lot of questions today. Next question is from Sergei Fadushin. What do you think is the basis of artificial intelligence? What is artificial intelligence according to Robert Locard? What are the prospects for the development of artificial intelligence? So what do you think about the basis of artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence is a fascinating subject. We still have a long way to go in terms of, like in deep learning. Please explain yourself. There's research going on in that now. What do I think artificial intelligence is being in its current use case is taking a massive amount of data, finding correlations that aren't obvious in the data, and then using that information to project forward. That is how I like to look at artificial intelligence. This next step that some researchers are going to say is going to happen in the next 50 years is when artificial intelligence gets to what is being referred to as the singularity, when artificial intelligence becomes as intelligent as human beings. The logical side of me says that's probably not going to happen because, you know, I look back when I was 20 years old, we thought we were going to have flying cars. It may be a good goal, it may not be a good goal, but will artificial intelligence start being creative? Will it start having original ideas? Will it start, and if it does, who's to say artificial intelligence does not become our ruler? If it exceeds us by so much, it may look at us as bugs. You know, yeah, so you have to be careful. I don't think it will ever get that way. The logical part of me, as I'm looking at the progression, I don't think it'll get that way. I don't think that it will get creativity. It is very good at sucking in massive amount of information and correlating that information, but getting to what some people want, creativity, original thought, I don't see it in my lifetime.
And our students would like to get some private information about you. So the next question is Timur Alimov. Dear Robert Locard, what do you think about computer games? What are the future of gaming? And do you play different types of games?
I don't play computer games. I don't. I go and I walk in the woods. I take a walk outside. Where are computer games? I'm seeing some virtual reality, augmented reality. I did a conference last week for the Spanish Oracle users group, and they created a virtual world for it because I couldn't go to Madrid. I was impressed by the technology. However, I have not spent enough time looking at gaming. To me, I will be flying my airplane, I'll be on my boat, or I'll be walking in the woods. That's how I entertain myself. So I'm sorry, I can't answer it.
Yes, we haven't mentioned today that Robert Lockert is a pilot as well. Not only the author of the book, not only the speaker, the lecturer, the cybersecurity specialist, also a pilot of vintage aircraft. What year? It is
1948.
1948. It is incredible. Don't you?
Come to America and I will take you for a ride in it.
Okay.
You'll love it.
Okay, we'll make an agreement. Okay. So
all right.
Next question. Our next question is from Kirill Arkhipov. Can you please tell us the most interesting story connected with your work? Maybe some interesting fight with hackers or something similar?
I do not talk about my work or my customers online.
Not
my
customers?
will get
okay.
I don't go there. My customers are private.
Okay, so next question is also from Moscow Polytechnic University team. Will they see a significant change in the appearance of cities in the coming decades, the appearance of buildings, roads, and infrastructure? Will we see something similar to how the cities of the future are depicted by artists?
I hope cities keep their character. I go to an old city like Belgrade, Moscow, Paris. I don't want the architecture to change. It is beautiful. It is a character. To rebuild, say, on the edges of the city where you may want to improve, I can see some improvements that need to be made, and a lot of it has to do with traffic. But the actual appearance, I would love to see more art in buildings. I was taken aback. About a year ago, I was in Belgrade, and in the 90s, we had the issue with NATO and Yugoslavia. And here was this beautiful old building with these incredible reliefs on it. And right next to it was a glass tower. Well, the building that was there where the glass tower is had disappeared. And so they built a new building. I would rather see the old building and maybe start duplicating some of that art in the new work. You know, let artists get involved. Architecture is beautiful. I think artists should be involved with it too. Will it change? Hopefully for the better.
Okay. So Mikhail Vasilyev says, hello, Robert Lockert. And his question, please ask us a little about the Starlink satellite internet system from SpaceX. How promising and reliable do you think it is?
I think it's going to be very promising, very reliable. However, it is also creating a problem for astronomers, where it is actually causing reflections on their telescope. And again, this is second and third order consequences. Yes, it's going to be reliable. However, it's also had a negative impact. So someone did not completely think that out.
Okay, we have more and more questions. And also people say, thank you for your lecture. Next question is from Moscow Polytechnic University team. The younger generation whose representatives were born after 2000s, our current students, grew up in a world with constant internet access. In a minute then they can find any necessary information, contact the right person, work remotely, order services online. What are the values of this generation? What do you think? What do they want to be? Who is the opinion leader for them?
I think, well, first I'm going to hit opinion leader. And I said this earlier in my lecture, be careful what you feed your brain. Please be careful. If you feed your brain garbage, you're going to think garbage. Who is their opinion leader? It could be thousands of different people, but you got to filter it. What was the other part of the question? Because my brain triggered on opinion leader. That's something that I'm really sensitive to.
I just thought that if we talk about opinion leader, for example, and you mentioned Elon Musk, is it possible to say that Elon Musk is the opinion leader for younger generation?
I think he can be an example for the younger generation. Okay? To me, an opinion leader is completely different from an example.
Oh, really?
Okay.
What is the difference?
Yes.
What is the difference?
Opinion leaders talk a lot. Examples do. Okay. Elon Musk, he executes on their plans. I hear a lot of opinion leaders, they post up on Instagram, you know, I'm somewhere, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but they don't accomplish things. So if you, you know, okay, I'll bring opinion leader and example together. Make your opinion leader somebody who gets something done. Okay. Don't make it the person who puts up on Instagram, they're riding in, you know, a car, or they have the latest clothes, or they have the latest shoes. That's just an attention whore.
Yes, the idea about that we should differ the actions and the words.
Duh.
Okay, so next question from Timur Alimov again. What do you think about 5G towers?
Where I live, I don't see them. 5G is fascinating. I live outside of the city, so I live on the water with a forest in my backyard. The 5G towers. Let's talk about the 5G technology. It is the logical next step in internet connectivity. But 5G is also creating a situation I was reading about in, not Belize, but Brazil. They are using 5G and artificial intelligence to bring high-end medical care to villages out in the jungle. So, you know, the 5G has a place. It is wonderful. But it gets back to be cautious with your information, because, you know, your phones really do send out a lot of personal information, which is why frequently when I go places, I just leave it at home. So, but you're going to see 5G a lot more. And it's going to help us suck up more information, process more information. Just be careful of what information you send out there, please.
Next question again about computer games from Roman Swintsitsky. Continuing about computer games, as I think computer games promote development of computers and software. Do you agree?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. When I was young, we played computer games. I remember playing Pong. And if you've never seen Pong, go play Pong. It was just, excuse me, it was early computer graphics. And that gave the ability to improve computer graphics, and they build on each other. So yeah, games will help bring technology forward. Just compare the current games to Pong or Pac-Man. You know, so yeah, games do help, because if you get people using the games, they want to constantly improve the game. However, by the same token, if nobody uses the game, if you don't make it exciting enough, if you don't improve it, people stop using it. So it has to build on itself.
The next question from Kirill Arkhipov. What do you think about the United Nations decision that anonymity in internet is an alienable human rights? Thank you.
I can argue both sides of this. The first side is we do want privacy. The second side of it is if somebody is completely anonymous and they start attacking people on the internet and you can't identify who they are, how do you deal with these bad actors? So you have to deal with the bad actors, and you have to deal with the good actors. Good actors, anonymity. Bad actors, you need to identify them and deal with them. Because there's people that just absolutely gang up on other people. And they hide behind a Twitter handle. They hide behind something. And because they are not seen, because they are not identified, they don't have the desire to change their behavior. Anonymity good, I like it. Anonymity bad, we need to deal with the bad actors. Again, I can argue both sides of that story.
And a question from Ksenia Temnikova. Dear Robert Lockert, what do you think about new role of security operations management?
Euro security operations management. I have not been in Europe for a while, so I have not studied it. My world is the United States. I could probably call up a couple of my friends in Europe and get their opinion, but as of right now, I don't have enough exposure to it to give you a good opinion.
And the last question, this time it's my question. What if you were asked to give one advice to younger generation, only one advice, what advice it would be?
Only one?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
God.
yes. Because we live in a world that we have multiple choices.
I am going to quote the great philosopher Alicia Zemaz. Oh God, I can't.
Yes.
How do you pronounce your last name?
Oh, it's quite difficult. Okay, so.
Well, then tell me.
Olesya Zmazneva.
Okay, I'm going to quote you.
Thank you.
Think like a child. And if anybody wants to know what that means, it took me a couple of years to totally figure it out. Ask Alicia.
Oh, thank you, Robert. Robert, we can make some applause to Robert Lockert from our auditory, and I have that you have more applause from our internet auditory. Thank you again. Thank you for sharing your experience. And today's our lecture is over. And I think that you join us again more time. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Y'all have a great day.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. So
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.